You just know it by, you know, and you just know it. You either know what's going on among this crazy people or you don't, you know. Just like from your background, you know what your people may be and so on and so forth. It's a knee-jerk thing, you just know. You know what to expect from people. So who's going to give up their lives in the Warsaw Ghetto? You know, the left and right-wing Zionists. They're the ones who are going to do it. The others just going to be transported. You know, and that's the objection to Herzl. You see, he's like one of these people who wants to do something. He doesn't want to just wait and see what's going to happen, or for God to do something, or so on and so forth. He wants to do something. But you see, the difference between Herzl and people like Ahad Am and Weitzman is his disciple. Weitzman revels in the fact that they defeat Herzl at the Zionist congresses. He's overjoyed to defeat Herzl, and so we taught Herzl a lesson. Yeah, they killed him in effect. You know, broke his heart. Yeah, but they're the losers because of the fact that they didn't feel the pressure of time that Herzl felt. Now, maybe Herzl wouldn't have been able to do anything. I happen to think he would have done more than them. And that he was already on the way to doing a lot when he died, I think, primarily of a broken heart, I think. So on. You say, well, he lacked spiritual stamina. Well, that may be true. He got a quick idea, and you know, when things went against him, he cracked, perhaps you might want to say. But his own people helped him crack, which is, you say, well, you know, you've got to be stronger than that. Well, it's easy to say, but it's not always possible to be stronger than a certain amount of strength. Anyway, here's, some of you have taken my classes, some of you haven't. You see, anybody who follows the rabbinic form of teaching and what I would call the rabbinic, I don't like to use this term, I'll be criticized, but I don't have a better term, propaganda. People think I'm hard on Christianity. I'm as equally hard on Judaism and Islam, so you know, don't think I'm like one-sided in this kind of thing. You say, well, you just don't like anything. That's not true. You see some of the things I like, and it's pretty obvious. It doesn't matter what I like. You say, well, why don't you cover over what you like? Well, I don't think you can cover over what you like, and I don't think you should. The students can make their determination. They don't have to follow what you like, you know, but you can't disguise you like something and you don't like something. So, I mean, when you teach, you'll show what you like and don't like too, and that'll be great. That's what you should do. And the students can make up their own minds. Anyway, you see, the propaganda, and I know the word that I can call it, of the rabbis, since they are the Pharisee teachers. The propaganda is that we saved Judaism. Without us, you know, Judaism wouldn't have survived, and so on and so forth. Well, that's probably true. I mean, I don't personally deny that. So therefore, since they're descendants of the Pharisee party, they praise the Pharisee party. So he's dismissing the Essenes here as you know, unimportant. And now we see from the Dead Sea Scrolls that they are very important. And their contribution is really quite massive. And I don't think there would be any Islam without the Dead Sea Scrolls. I don't think there'd be any Christianity without it. Not that Christianity represents what the scrolls represent, because Christianity is inverted, turned into its mere opposite by Pauline teachers who studied with the Essenes, probably, and I think that's pretty clear because he uses all the language of the Dead Sea Scrolls. He knows the scrolls, but he hates the, he's a bit like a Ahad Am. He hates the scroll type people, and he's more into the Roman Empire ideology, and so he reverses everything. He turns their ideas against themselves. I don't have time to tell you how, but if you read my books, you'll see how he reverses everything that you find in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Paul is a Pharisee to some extent, as he says. I was born, you know, I studied under the Pharisees. Yeah, he has a Pharisee mindset, but Christianity is the other side of the coin to Phariseeism. Phariseeism and Rabbinic Judaism, rather, or maybe the other side of the coin to Rabbinic Judaism, developed from about the 2nd century to the 6th century. The early church fathers are functioning from about the 2nd century to the 6th century. And basically the only difference is that one are observing the law and the other aren't. And that's basically the difference between them. I mean, there's a lot of other differences that come out of Hellenistic thinking and Neoplatonism and allegorical interpretation like Philo of Alexandria. But basically the difference is one is pro-law, the other is anti-law. And the Pharisees becomes pro-law with a vengeance because it adds to the law with the oral law and the traditions of the fathers and onward and build a fence around the Torah, so you have to then have other laws to make sure you don't accidentally incur upon the Torah and so on and so forth. So then you get into all the laws of kashrut. Kashrut is purity regulations, particularly regarding food, kosher, kashrut. So you have to have separate knives and forks, so you don't inadvertently, incur some pollution somewhere. Separate plates. Don't mix milk and meat, and so on and so forth. I don't believe they follow those things in the Second Temple period. I don't see anything to do with those things at all. That's all comes from building a fence around the Torah and the oral law, the Mishnah, and so on, after the fall of the temple. You say, well, where do they get it from? Well, one little word, one little phrase in the Old Testament. You shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. That's it. And then they take that and they develop this whole huge system. That's not the Old Testament. That's what they do after the fall of the temple in the rabbinic school. In any event, the point is that if you're a descendant of that way of thinking, which is nothing wrong with it, they're not doing any harm to anyone. I'm not saying that they're bad people or that they mean harm to anyone or that they are trying to hurt anyone. They're not. They just want to be left to their activity to carry on their studies in the way they carry them on and so on. But you see, then you think that that is the best form of Judaism. See, he says, the Pharisees, it was not to them, but to the Pharisees that people look for instruction. And so you always hear from the rabbinic Judaism, of course the Pharisees are the enemies in the New Testament, in terms of the picture of Jesus in the Gospels, arguing with the Pharisees and the Sadducees and so on. But I'm not sure, as I try to explain in my classes, and you people take my other class on historical Jesus, know that I think the Pharisee use in the Gospels is symbolic use to some extent, maybe not always.